Welcome to Life Tells Stories, the channel where we share incredible true stories of resilience, strength, and redemption. Today, we bring you a tale of two young sisters who broke free from an unimaginable past of forced labor and emotional abuse, and built a life they could be proud of. Their journey takes us through pain, loss, sacrifice, and eventually, triumph and freedom. It's a story that might just make you reconsider what family truly means. Have you ever wondered what you would do if the people who were supposed to love and protect you treated you like a burden instead? How would you respond if you were forced to give up your dreams to serve others who never appreciated you? Stick around, because this story is about more than just escaping abuse. It's about the power of courage, love, and finding your true family. If you're new here, please subscribe to Life Tells Stories for more amazing tales of resilience like this one. And don't forget to like this video. Your support helps us share more inspiring journeys. Meet Chloe and Mia, two young sisters caught in a web of deep familial neglect. Growing up, their older sister, Lisa, was the clear favorite of their parents, Susan and Mark. Lisa had everything: love, attention, and investment. Meanwhile, Chloe and Mia were treated like nothing more than nuisances, their existence overshadowed by Lisa's academic successes. Lisa was their parents' pride and joy. When she scored well on an IQ test as a child, Susan and Mark saw it as their ticket to fame and fortune. They funneled all their resources to give Lisa the best education possible, sending her to private school and providing her with every advantage. She was enrolled in the best classes, given the newest clothes, and treated to the best meals. As for Chloe and Mia, they were told that their only purpose was to help Lisa succeed, which meant sacrificing their own futures. Chloe and Mia watched as Lisa was showered with praise and gifts, while they were treated as little more than servants. If Lisa got good grades, she would be rewarded with outings, new toys, or extra privileges. But when Chloe or Mia did something well, it was met with indifference. Their parents dismissed any of their achievements as insignificant, constantly reminding them that they were only average. Chloe and Mia were explicitly told that they were not special. Their average grades and unremarkable looks supposedly made them unworthy of any investment. This unequal treatment shaped their lives in ways that were hard to undo. From a young age, they internalized the belief that they were inherently less valuable. They watched, helpless, as Lisa got new clothes, delicious meals, and family outings, while they were left behind to do household chores. The message was clear: they were not worthy of love or effort. Chloe and Mia were invisible, except when they were needed to do something for their older sister. It left scars that would take years to heal, making them doubt their worth and leaving them craving the love they had been denied. By the time Chloe turned 15, her parents had made up their minds. She would not be allowed to attend high school. Instead, she was expected to start working as soon as she graduated from middle school to support Lisa's expensive private schooling. Chloe begged to go to high school, promising she would work part-time and cover her own expenses, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Her parents didn't want to waste money on someone they deemed useless. It was a harsh awakening for Chloe. She had always hoped that if she worked hard enough, she might earn some small measure of approval or love. But her parents made it clear that she was nothing more than a tool to them, a means to an end, which was Lisa's success. The disappointment was crushing. Chloe's dreams of learning, of exploring the world beyond her home, crumbled as her parents forced her into a job at a local supermarket. Chloe's heartbreak turned into a harsh reality when she started working at the supermarket. Every penny she earned went directly to her parents, to be used for Lisa's education. Chloe wasn't allowed to keep even a small portion for herself. She had no control over her life and no hope for the future. She worked long hours, often coming home exhausted, only to be reminded that her work was not her own. It was for Lisa. Her parents would take her earnings and tell her that she should be grateful to even be part of the family, considering how ordinary she was. It wasn't long before Mia joined her, following the same path as soon as she finished middle school. Like Chloe, Mia was denied the chance to continue her education. Together, they were forced to give up on their dreams of an education to keep their older sister's dreams alive. They worked side by side, sharing their pain and finding comfort in one another. It was only the bond between them that made their harsh lives bearable. They would whisper their dreams to each other late at night, imagining a future where they could be free, but knowing it was little more than a fantasy. The worst was yet to come. One day, their mother told them that she had found a new job for them, a live-in position at a distant inn. They were given no choice. Chloe and Mia were forced into a car and driven to the inn, their resignation letters at the supermarket already submitted. Their parents made it clear. They were to send all their wages home, and under no circumstances were they allowed to run away. The journey to the inn felt like a death sentence. Chloe and Mia sat in the back of the car, holding hands, knowing that they were being taken even further from the life they had dreamed of. Their parents didn't try to comfort them or explain their reasoning. It was just another decision made without them, another way in which they were being used. They had no say, no voice, and no hope. As the car pulled up to the inn, they watched their parents drive away without a second glance. It was the ultimate betrayal. Their parents didn't even see them as family members anymore. They were little more than tools to be exploited. There was no goodbye hug, no tears, not even a wish for their well-being. As they watched the car disappear down the road, Chloe and Mia realized that the only people they could count on were each other. They had lost everything: their home, their freedom, and any illusion of parental love. The inn was a place of unknowns, but it was also the place where they would have to start over, whether they wanted to or not. The inn turned out to be both a challenge and a blessing in disguise. The proprietress, Mrs. Evans, was a stern but perceptive woman. She saw the vulnerability in Chloe and Mia and decided to offer them something their parents never had: a fair chance. When Chloe and Mia's parents hastily signed the employment contract, Mrs. Evans secretly added a clause limiting their forced labor to 5 years. Mrs. Evans was not a soft woman. She ran the inn with precision, expecting her staff to be diligent and hardworking. Chloe and Mia were given long hours and difficult tasks, but for the first time, they were treated fairly. They weren't dismissed as useless or told they were worthless. Mrs. Evans demanded excellence, and slowly, Chloe and Mia rose to meet her expectations. They worked tirelessly, scrubbing floors, cleaning rooms, and learning the hospitality business from the ground up. Under Mrs. Evans's watchful eye, Chloe and Mia found themselves growing stronger. They were no longer helpless children. They were young women determined to survive. Mrs. Evans gave them something they had never received from their parents: respect. She pushed them to do better, and when they succeeded, she acknowledged their hard work. It wasn't the kind of warm love they had dreamed of, but it was the first time they had felt like they were worth something. As time passed, they grew stronger both physically and emotionally. They saved what little they could, always under the watchful eye of Mrs. Evans, who made sure they were paid fairly for their work. They began to trust Mrs. Evans, who treated them more like daughters than their own parents ever had. She never coddled them, but she did look out for them, ensuring they had food, shelter, and a safe place to sleep. Slowly, the inn became their home, and Mrs. Evans became a figure they could rely on. 5 years later, Chloe and Mia's parents returned, demanding that the money keep flowing. They were unaware that the contract had expired. When they stormed into the inn, they were angry, expecting to simply pick up where they had left off. But Mrs. Evans confronted them, holding up the signed agreement. She made it clear that Chloe and Mia were no longer obligated to send a single cent home. Their parents were furious, tearing up the papers in a fit of rage. But it was useless. The original contract was still valid. Chloe and Mia watched the confrontation with a mixture of fear and hope. For years, they had done what was demanded of them, without question. But now, with Mrs. Evans standing beside them, They finally had someone on their side. Mrs. Evans stood her ground, reminding Susan and Mark that they had another daughter, Lisa, their supposed prodigy. She asked why they weren't relying on her for support. However, their beloved Lisa had left them after dropping out of college and refusing to be manipulated further. Their parents had invested everything in Lisa, believing that she would become their ticket to an easier life. But Lisa had rebelled. She had chosen to leave rather than continue to be controlled, and she had cut all contact with her parents. Chloe and Mia's parents had been abandoned by the very child they had put all their hopes in, while the daughters they had discarded were standing tall. The realization was painful for Susan and Mark. They had lost everything they had invested in. The daughter they adored had left them, and the daughters they had neglected had grown beyond their control. For the first time, Chloe and Mia saw their parents for who they truly were: desperate, selfish, and lost. They no longer feared them. With Mrs. Evans backing them up, they were finally free. It was during this confrontation that Chloe and Mia revealed a secret of their own. They were no longer legally Susan and Mark's children. With Mrs. Evans's help, they had reached out to their grandmother, a kind woman who had always loved them, but had been kept away by their parents. Their grandmother had adopted them, giving them a new sense of belonging and freedom from the past. Their parents were stunned. The manipulative hold they had used for years was finally broken. Chloe and Mia were no longer their property, and they no longer had any legal right to demand anything from them. It was a moment of empowerment for Chloe and Mia. For years, they had been treated like they didn't matter, but now they had a family who cared. Their grandmother, who had been pushed away by Susan and Mark, welcomed them with open arms, showering them with the love they had been denied for so long. For the first time in their lives, Chloe and Mia felt what it was like to be truly loved. Their grandmother listened to their stories, encouraged their dreams, and supported their decisions. She was the complete opposite of their parents. Where Susan and Mark had been controlling, she was nurturing. Where they had been cold, she was warm. Chloe and Mia moved in with their grandmother, leaving the pain of their childhood behind. Mrs. Evans, who had helped them every step of the way, remained a constant figure in their lives. The relationship they developed with Mrs. Evans and their grandmother became the foundation on which they would rebuild their lives. It was a new chapter, one filled with hope and possibility. They no longer felt alone or unloved. Instead, they had two strong women supporting them, guiding them, and cheering them on. Chloe and Mia knew that they had found their true family, a family that was built on love, respect, and acceptance. With the support of their grandmother and Mrs. Evans, Chloe and Mia were able to finish their education through a part-time high school program. It wasn't easy. They worked during the day at the inn and studied in the evenings, often staying up late to complete their assignments. But they were determined. For the first time, they had a chance to take control of their own futures, and they weren't going to let it slip away. Graduating from high school was an emotional achievement for both of them. It was more than just a diploma. It was proof that they had survived, that they had fought back, and that they could succeed despite everything that had been thrown at them. It was a symbol of everything they had fought for. And when they walked across the stage to receive their diplomas, they felt a sense of pride that they had never felt before. Chloe decided to pursue a career in the tourism industry, inspired by her years at the inn and her desire to help others experience the world. She loved meeting new people and sharing her knowledge with them, and she saw tourism as a way to connect with others. She enrolled in a training program and worked tirelessly to learn everything she could about the industry. Her passion and dedication paid off, and she eventually found a job as a travel consultant, helping people create unforgettable experiences. Nia, on the other hand, discovered a passion for cooking. She had always enjoyed helping out in the kitchen at the inn, and with her grandmother's encouragement, she began training to become a chef. She took cooking classes, worked in different kitchens, and honed her skills. It wasn't easy. The hours were long, and the work was demanding. But Maya loved it. She dreamed of opening her own restaurant one day, a place where people could come together to enjoy good food and feel at home. Chloe and Mia's journey wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming their voices. For years, they had been silenced, their needs ignored, their dreams discarded. Now they had the chance to speak up and share their story. Their resilience became an inspiration for others who were going through similar struggles. They began to share their story with others, first through small community events and eventually through larger platforms. Chloe spoke at tourism conferences, sharing her journey and the lessons she had learned about resilience, while Mia held cooking workshops, using food as a way to bring people together and share her message of hope. They found strength in their vulnerability, and their willingness to share their story helped others find the courage to speak up about their own struggles. Their voices mattered, and they wanted to use them to help others. They knew that there were many people out there who felt like they had no value, who had been silenced by those who were supposed to love them. Chloe and Mia wanted to be a source of hope for those people, to let them know that they weren't alone and that there was a way out. It wasn't easy, but it was possible, and they were living proof of that. If you're watching this and have ever felt like Chloe and Mia, silenced, ignored, or treated unfairly, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters, and you are not alone. Sharing your story can be the first step towards healing, and we are here to support you. 10 years after leaving the inn, Chloe and Mia returned. They were no longer the frightened teenagers who had arrived with nothing. They had built lives they could be proud of. Chloe was now a successful travel consultant, crafting unique experiences for clients, while Mia had become a talented chef, running her own small but popular restaurant. They had come a long way, and now they were ready to revisit the place where their journey had truly begun. Mrs. Evans, now in her 70s, welcomed them with open arms. Her face lit up with joy as she embraced the two young women she had helped raise. Their grandmother, still full of love and pride, waited for them in the garden. She had moved to be closer to the inn, and she spent her days enjoying the peace and quiet, always looking forward to visits from her granddaughters. The inn had changed over the years, with new decorations and updated facilities, but it still felt like home. Chloe and Mia had come full circle, returning not out of necessity but out of love for the people who had saved them. As they walked through the familiar halls, memories flooded back. They remembered the nights spent cleaning, the mornings spent cooking, and the afternoons spent learning the ins and outs of the hospitality business. They remembered the way Mrs. Evans had looked out for them, pushing them to do better, and the way their grandmother had welcomed them with open arms. It was here that they had learned to believe in themselves, to stand up for what they deserved, and to fight for their dreams. The reunion was filled with laughter and tears. Chloe and Mia shared stories of their lives, the struggles they had faced, and the triumphs they had experienced. Mrs. Evans listened with pride, and their grandmother beamed with joy. It was a moment of closure for Chloe and Mia, a chance to show the people who had believed in them just how far they had come. Sitting with Mrs. Evans and their grandmother, Chloe and Mia realized just how much they had gained. They had lost their biological parents, but in doing so, they had found their true family, a family built on love, respect, and mutual support. The lessons they learned at the inn had shaped them into strong, capable women who knew their worth. As they spoke with the young staff at the inn, they realized that their story had become a beacon of hope for others. The new staff looked at them with admiration, inspired by their resilience and strength. Chloe and Mia realized that their journey from forced labor and neglect to freedom and success was a reminder that, no matter how dark the past, the future could still hold light. It was possible to break free, to heal, and to thrive. They had learned that family wasn't about blood. It was about those who stood by you, who supported you, and who helped you grow. Mrs. Evans and their grandmother had shown them what real love looked like, and Chloe and Mia had carried those lessons with them throughout their lives. They had built careers, found happiness, and most importantly, they had learned to love themselves. As they said their goodbyes and prepared to leave the inn once more, Chloe and Mia knew that they would always have a place to call home. Mrs. Evans and their grandmother had given them the foundation they needed to build their lives, and they were forever grateful. They were no longer the scared, neglected children they had once been. They were strong, successful women who knew their worth, and they were ready to take on whatever the future held. Chloe and Mia's story is one of resilience, courage, and the transformative power of love. They taught us that family isn't just about blood. It's about those who stand by you, support you, and help you grow. Their journey from being exploited by their parents to finding a true family with Mrs. Evans and their grandmother is a powerful reminder that we all deserve to be loved and valued. If you found their story inspiring, please like this video and subscribe to Life Tells Stories for more incredible tales of resilience. And don't forget, your comments and experiences matter. Share them below, and let's support each other in our journeys. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter how tough life gets, there is always hope, and there are always people willing to be your family. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and we'll see you in the next story. Goodbye for now.